My name's Atkinson. I'm a multidisciplinary artist based in Leicester at Studio Name, and this is my exhibition, Finding the Fallen. So Finding the Fallen is the story about my great-grandfather, Arthur Pinder, who unfortunately died in the Second World War. He was part of a special ops squadron rearming partisan and allied forces. And so last year we climbed a mountain in Italy called Mount Zata to find his actual crash site of his Halifax bomber JP237. The reason I know where the crash site is for a beautiful gentleman called Francesco Sabini, who's an Italian aeronautical archaeologist. He found the crash site in 2009. So the exhibition is a mixture of history and contemporary art. So it tells the story of my great-grandfather, his background, and then our trip up Mount Zata to find the crash site, where we found wreckage of the plane. And then the other half of the exhibition is showing artwork that I created into the landscape of the mountain, but then also work that was inspired by the trip and the story. This piece here is called Traces of a Pilgrim. It's one of my favorite pieces in the exhibition, as it's a mixture of the work we did on the mountain and when I came back and made work inspired by it. Because when we were on the mountain, we tracked our movements with GPS, and that's what this gold line represents on the propeller. The propeller is from a Halifax bomber itself and was buried in the ground for 60 years, so it has all its original corrosion, and you can see some original paint on it. And then I grinded away a lot of that to bring out the core of its aluminium, and then engraved this gold line on it to show our movements on the mountain. I think it's a really interesting piece because visually it's great, but it has really nice meaning behind it as well. Another main part of the exhibition is fragments of my great-grandfather's actual plane that we found up on Mount Zata. So all these cabinets are sort of full of bits of the wreckage and then some of his personal items. But one cabinet is this cabinet here, which has items from the plane which are more specific to the crew. So in here is part of the fuselage, which was the cockpit area, sort of the plexiglass from the cockpit. There's a part of the sextant box bracket and some of the equipment that my great-grandfather would have used and monitored. But heartbreakingly also, there is things from the crew themselves. So there is a couple of buttons from their uniform, and more heartbreakingly, the heel of one of their flying boots. Now, I'm not saying it is his, but my great-grandfather was a very short man. He was only 5'4", and the boot is very small, and obviously been on that mountain for 75 years in the freezing cold heat. It expands, it'll shrink over time. But to think that that could be the heel of the boot that my great-granddad was wearing at the time of the crash is just absolutely incredible and mind-blowing. And the fact I've held that in my hand is an incredible thing. So although sad is one of my favorite things, and favorite probably isn't the right word, but it's very poignant and very meaningful.